Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon.
We'll start the session with Zahan's seminar. After that, I will continue. Yes, Zahan. You need to share the screen. No? Okay, ready. Done.
Yes, ma'am, am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible.
Can you see, ma'am?
Yes, yes. Begin.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammed Zahan. I'm presenting about taxonomic categories. So why should we classify? To study the diversity of life, biologists classification system to name organism group in logical manner. Taxonomy, discipline of classifying organisms and assigning each organism a universally accepted name. Early taxonomists, 2000 years ago, Aristotle was the first taxonomist. Aristotle divided plants into plants and animals. He subdivided them by their habitat, land, sea, or air dwellers. Early scientists used common names to identify organisms. Examples of common names: seahorse, starfish, sea lion, and jellyfish. Earlier people used to just name the organisms. They used common names, but the problem with common names was that one name in one region may be another organism in another region. Example: buzzards. Buzzards in USA are vultures, and in Britain they are eagles. So depending on the region, the common names may change. So scientists needed a common name, so they choose the language, and the language is Latin, and then they try to choose the scientific name. So Carolus Linnaeus classified organism by their structure, created the system of naming we use today. His classification system includes 7 levels. In taxonomy, a group or level of organism is called a taxonomic category or taxon. To avoid confusion, Carolus Linnaeus devised a naming system based on physical characteristics, structures. So the definitions: genus and species are the two groupings that we use to name the to name the scientific names. Here are the definitions. Kingdom, the largest taxonomic group consisting of closely related phylum. Phylum, group of closely related classes, and classes, group of similar orders. Orders, group of similar families. Families, group of genera, genus that share many characteristics. Genus, a group of closely related species that share common characteristics. Species, group of organisms that can interbreed to produce fertile offspring. So as we go down, the common characteristics shared by the organisms increase, and then when vice versa, when we go up, it just decreases. The level of classification that contains organisms most relatedly is species, and the level of classification that contains organisms least closely related is kingdom. Here's an example: polar bears. And usually the names given to them, like the kingdom name and phylum name, they usually have a meaning. And like kingdom Animalia for polar bears, it's animals. Phylum Chordata, it means they have a spinal cord or a spinal cord. Class Mammalia, it means they are warm-blooded or milk. Order Carnivora means they're carnivorous. Family Ursidae, that means they're bear-like creatures. And then genus Ursus, that means they're bears, and species Maximus, that means polar bears. So polar bears are Ursus maximus. How to remember? King Philip could only find green socks. K for kingdom, P for phylum, C for class, O for order, F for family, G for genus, and S for species. Easy way to remember: King Philip could only find green socks. And these are the rules. Every name has to be unique. Universality. Zoologists have adopted by international agreement a single language to be used on a worldwide basis. All animals are given a generic common name and a specific name in Latin, scientific name. These names are in italics or are underlined. So they either written in italics or they're just underlined. So first it will be genus and then comes species name. The genus name will be capitalized, and then the genus and species name will either be in italics or they'll be underlined. Thank you, ma'am. That is the end.
Okay, Zahan, well done. And children, I think all are in a hurry, I think, to complete. But you're doing well. Gradually, you will keep on improving. Any other suggestions, students? Others have any suggestions or doubts? Oh, you are going in a mutual understanding, no? So if you ask doubts after any of their seminars, so this can be continued or this can get repeated during your session also. To be on the safer side, we will not ask any doubts and we won't be questioned also, no? So when you get involved actively, no, in between, if you can put in your suggestions also, it becomes more lively. Okay, anyways, and whoever, like I think from the first chapter, all have taken seminar, no? Those who had given names, I think all have taken. Did I miss out anyone? No. Now be prepared for the second chapter. You can choose your topic of interest and you can start preparing those who did not take so far. All those who have taken, you don't have to worry about till one round is completed. And so next class, let me know who all are ready to take seminar based on the next chapter. Within, I think by next week, we'll be completing this chapter. Okay, all these, see, you are not taking these seminar just for an entertainment. You will be awarded marks for all these. As part of your internal assessment, all these are part of your internal assessment. So take it seriously and you were doing it quite nicely and keep improving. Yes. Speed, I think you can reduce a bit because you have a small topic and you can take maximum 10 minutes you can take. And apart from what is given in the textbook, if you can include, many of you are introducing some new points also, some curious facts and all along with this, if you can introduce, it will be more interesting. Okay, some of you are doing it. Okay, let's continue. Which kingdom we were discussing, children?
Kingdom fungi.
Kingdom fungi. And I told you about cenocytic hyphae. What is meant by cenocytic hyphae? Malavika, Vibin, what is meant by cenocytic hyphae?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
I don't remember.
That is why you're so happy. Seeing the excitement on your face, I thought you will answer now. First period, you were not there?
First period, I was there, ma'am.
When was the start? Last previous period only, no? You were not there? You
I
heard? Who will say? Shabiri? You will have to repeat. Listen carefully.
They are not separated, like they don't have any separations between them. They are multinucleated.
They are multinucleated. No septae. You cannot find any septa in their hyphae, and as a result, there will be so many nuclei. The tube is continuous with many nuclei. That is cenocytic hyphae. Malavika will repeat. Malavika, we've been. Yes. Yes, Malavika, continue.
Ma'am, was it taught last class? Because I don't remember. The previous class I was absent.
Previous class or previous period?
No, previous class.
On Wednesday. Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, this was taught today.
I don't remember. Ma'am, can you say it once again?
Phenolcytic hyphae means the tubes are continuous. In this type of hyphae, the tubes, the filaments will be continuous without any cross walls in between. If it is septate hyphae, the hypha will be separated in between. You can find some cross walls or septae. And when Cross walls are there, they won't be multinucleated. Within each compartment, only one nucleus will be there. And my question was, what are cenocytic hyphae? In cenocytic hyphae, these are absent. Septae are absent, and the tube is continuous, and they are multinucleated. That is the most important point. They are multinucleated. Cenocytic means multinucleated. Now, can you repeat, Malavika?
Yes, ma'am. The septase is absent and it's multinucleated.
Okay. Septae are. Okay. Septum is singular. Now we'll continue. Anyway, since she was having a confusion, that part alone quickly I will show and then I'll proceed. Because that feature is very important in different subdivisions of this fungi. We'll be learning about one of the main criteria that differentiates different groups of fungi is the mycelium or the hyphae present in them. So only that point I'll just repeat. Hope you know the difference between hyphae and mycelium. So hyphae are the filamentous, long, slender, thread-like structures present in fungus, or that makes up the body of a fungus is known as hyphae. When these hyphae form a network, you call it as mycelium. Mycelium are of two types, septate, those with septate hyphae and those with cenocytic hyphae. Septate means in these hyphae, there will be some partitions, some cross walls, which will separate hyphae into compartments, and they'll be uninucleated. Within each, there'll be just one nucleus. Whereas in cenocytic hyphae, cross walls are absent. So the tubes, these hyphal tubes will be continuous, and they will have several nuclei, multinucleated. So such a hyphae is known as cenocytic hyphae, and the mycelium formed by a network of cenocytic hyphae, you call it a cenocytic mycelium. Okay, now we are moving on to the next part. We learned about the different phases or different stages in the sexual reproduction of fungus. What are the three main stages, Nimita? First stage.
Plasmogamy,
No, you tell me what is plasmogamy.
fusion of protoplasm, that is cytoplasm and nucleus, of two motile or non-motile gametes.
They will fuse. It is known as, that is known as plasmogamy, and karyogamy is the second step, that is fusion of nuclei, and the third one is meiotic division. The zygote undergoes reductional division or meiotic division and results in the form of haploid spores. In sexual reproduction, two haploid hyphae, which are the gametes, they'll come together and fuse. So in sexual reproduction taking place in fungi, two haploid hyphae. Haploid means they have unpaired chromosome. Gametes will be haploid. They come together and fuse. In some fungi, two haploid cells will fuse and will immediately result in the formation of diploid cells. So N plus N result in the formation of 2N. So they will fuse and they will form diploid cells. But in certain other fungi, the different classes you will be learning later, Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, they have a dikaryotic stage. Karyon, I already told you, that means nucleus. There is a specific stage which you call as dikaryotic stage. Instead of forming a haploid nuclei from two, instead of forming a diploid nucleus from two haploid nuclei, there is an intermediate stage in them where the two nuclei will remain as such, N plus N. They don't combine, they don't fuse. For some time, they will remain as N plus N, dikaryon. They don't fuse. If they are fusing, they will form diploid nucleus. But without fusing, they will remain as N plus N for a particular period of time. That stage you call as dikaryon. Later, these nuclei will fuse. So there is a time gap between plasmogamy and karyogamy. Plasmogamy takes place, but karyogamy, it is not immediately followed by karyogamy. It will remain as N plus N. If they are fusing, if these two haploid nuclei are fusing together, they will form a diploid structure. But they will remain as N plus N. They don't fuse. They remain as N plus N. That particular stage is dikaryon, 2 nuclei. And later they will fuse. I'll repeat again. You are familiar with the 3 main stages involved in sexual reproduction. The first one is plasmogamy, where the protoplasm of 2 gametes are fusing, which will be followed by karyogamy, where the 2 nuclei of these gametes will fuse and results in the formation of a diploid nucleus, or they form a zygote with a diploid nucleus, and later it will undergo meiotic division and form haploid spores. So those are the 3 stages. But after the fusion of 2 haploid cells or 2 haploid nuclei, in certain fungi, immediately diploid cells are being formed. N plus N, they join together and form 2N in some fungi. But in certain other fungi, they will remain as, so in majority of them, I said they will immediately form, upon fusing, they will form 2N or haploid cells. But in certain fungi like Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, there is a dikaryotic stage. That means this nuclei will not fuse. It will remain as N plus N. And this stage you call it as dikaryon. They are remaining as 2 independent nuclei. But after some time, they will fuse and form a diploid cell. Okay. For some time, this particular stage is there in Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes. In certain other fungi, as soon as they fuse, they will result in the formation of diploid cells. But certain fungi like Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, there is an intermediate stage where these 2 nuclei will remain separate and form a stage known as dikaryon. But later, they will fuse and form diploid cell. Fungi form fruiting bodies in which reduction division takes place, resulting in the formation of spores. So already we discussed about it. We learned about the names of different sexual spores, and in that we had mentioned that in that slide it was mentioned that they produce some certain fruiting bodies, and it is on these fruiting bodies that the spores are being produced, and their reduction division or mitotic division will take place and releasing or producing haploid spores. Okay. Based on the morphology of mycelium,
Ma'am.
you want to see the previous slide?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll show. Mode of spore formation and fruiting bodies, we can categorize fungi into different classes. So what are the 3 criteria for classifying fungi into different classes? It's very important and very confusing also. Okay, so as an essay question, it can be asked. Briefly explain the different classes of fungi. So the criteria, the different criteria for classifying are morphology, the external features of mycelium, whether they are aseptate, cenocytic. So based on that, then mode of spore formation, how are they forming spores? Is it sexual method, asexual method? And what type of fruiting bodies? All are not having the same fruiting body. It is different for different classes of fungi. So based on that, based on these 3 criteria, fungi are classified into different classes. I'll repeat the criteria again. Morphology of mycelium, the mode of spore formation, and the type of fruiting bodies formed. So based on these 3 criteria, fungi are categorized or classified into different classes. Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. Since these are rhyming words, it is very difficult to memorize also. You might get confused between the features of different classes of fungi. Ascomycetes, AB, Ascomycetes. C is not there. A, B, C, D, it should have come, but instead of that, A, B, P, D it is. A, B, P, D. Instead of C, it is P. Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, Phycomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. Okay. One is starting with A, other is starting with B. Instead of C, it is starting with P and then D. So you can remember at least the first letter A, B, P, D. Instead of C, it is P. So somehow you can use your own, I have told you earlier also, make your own tips and tricks. Otherwise, it is very difficult to memorize all these. How much ever you learn, maybe after reading a particular page or after reading the points, you will feel that I have learned everything. But when you move on to the next page and if you try to recollect what was there, what you learned earlier, then you will end up in great disappointment. But if all these tips and tricks are there, you can easily memorize. That will help in memory retention. So try it out, and all those small code or mnemonics what you form, you can write in some sticky pads in your textbook, or you can write with pencil, or you can highlight and keep, so that you will never forget. And at the time of the exam, you don't have to prepare all these mnemonics. As and when you learn, make some tips and tricks to memorize it. Otherwise, you will find it very difficult. More and more complicated, more classifications you're going to learn. If you do your homework properly, it will be very easy. But if you don't learn your daily lessons, as I always used to say, you will find it very difficult. Children, once again, the 3 criteria for categorizing or classifying fungi are morphology, the external features of mycelium, whether they are aseptate, cenocytic, branched, unbranched. So depending upon that, then mode of spore formation, whether they form sexual spores, asexual spores, what are the different sexual spores formed or asexual spores formed. Then the next one is fruiting bodies, the features of the fruiting bodies that is also considered while classifying them into different groups or classes. Ascomycetes, mycetes is same for all the 4. Asco, Basidio, Phyco, Deutero. Phycomycetes, Deuteromycetes, Ascomycetes, and Basidiomycetes. I'll show you the previous slide as some of you wanted to see it again. You want me to explain it or just to see the slide, Emilyn?
Ma'am, explain it once again.
You want explanation? Okay. In sexual reproduction, 2 haploid hyphae or these 2 gametes will come together and fuse. We already learned about it. Plasmogamy, karyogamy, you had already learned. So 2 haploid hyphae will come together and they will fuse. So when 2 haploid cells are fusing, what we expect? The formation of a diploid cell. N plus N, 2N. That is how it should be formed. And in some fungi, once they fuse, it will result in the formation of triploid cells. But in certain classes of fungi like Ascomycetes and Basidiomycetes, there is a dikaryotic stage. Means the nuclei will exist as dikaryon. N plus N immediately is not forming 2N, but it remains as N plus N itself for some time. Those 2 nuclei will remain separate without fusing within the same cell. Okay, and they will remain as dikaryon. We are calling this stage as dikaryon. Di means 2, karyon means nucleus. So 2 nuclei within the same cell. But this is not very long lasting stage. After some time or after a period of time, this dikaryon or these 2 nuclei will fuse together and form a diploid cell. But there is an intermediate stage in some of the classes. Okay, Adulya? And once they have formed a diploid cell, next is this diploid cell will carry out meiotic division. And once the diploid cell undergoes meiotic division, it will release spores which are haploid. Diploid cell, when it undergoes meiosis, it will lead to haploid spores because meiotic division is a reductional division. Diploid cells will change into haploid if it is meiotic. If it is mitotic division, then diploid cell will remain diploid only. But here it is meiotic division and diploid cells will form haploid spores. Okay, Adilya?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Then we learned about the different classes, Phycomycetes, Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes and Deuteromycetes. Now we are going to see the characteristic features of these different classes. And children, if you can make a table, a tabular form, then it will be easy to compare. Examples also you should know. Maybe you will be given an example and you will be asked to identify the class to which this fungi or fungus belong to. Write its characteristic features. Then you should be familiar with the examples. Not just one example, be familiar with a few major examples. $4:20 is the time, children. 4:30.
4:30.
Okay, okay. Then we have time. Okay, we'll begin with the first one. Phycomycetes. Try to learn in the class itself. Phycomycetes. First, let's see the habitat. They are found in aquatic habitats, and you can even find them on decaying wood in moist and damp. Moist, damp means wet or moist places, or some of them, some members of this, they act as or they lead a parasitic life, and the speciality of this parasitic relationship is that they are obligate parasites. Obligate parasites means they have to lead a parasitic life, only then they can complete their life cycle. So they need the presence of that host to complete its life cycle. Compulsorily, they have to lead a parasitic life. So such parasites are known as obligate parasites. They have no other choice. If they don't lead a parasitic life, or if they don't live inside or outside that host, they cannot complete its life cycle. So some of them, so different members are there under this class. So they occur in aquatic habitats. You can find them on decaying wood. So when they are found on decaying wood, you know the mode of nutrition, saprophytic mode of nutrition. But some of them, they lead a parasitic life, and they are obligate parasites, means they have to lead a parasitic life to complete their life cycle. Then mycelium. This is very important feature. You're going to learn about the type of mycelium in all the 4 classes. So the first one is aseptate and cenocytic. Aseptate means no cross walls are present and they are multinucleated. Example, mucor, rhizopus, albugo. Albugo is found on mustard plant. We already learned, in the beginning. White patches on mustard plant is due to a parasitic fungus, that is albugo. Then mucor and rhizopus. So here you can see rhizopus, albugo, then mucor. Have you heard about mucor recently somewhere? Mucormycosis. In patients recovered from corona, mucormycosis is seen. Black fungus, that is caused by mucor. Mucormycosis is the disease which you commonly call as black fungus. Mucor, rhizopus, albugo are some members of Phycomycetes. Once again, they are found in aquatic habitats. And some of them you can see on decaying wood in wet and damp places. And some lead a parasitic life. On plants, they lead they live in association, a parasitic association with these plants. And they are obligate parasites because they have to, or they need the presence of that host. They have to lead this parasitic life to complete their life cycle. And coming to the mycelium, it's aseptate and cenocytic. Aseptate, septa absent, no cross walls are present. And it is cenocytic. You know that when septae are not there, definitely the tube will be continuous with several nuclei. So it's multinucleated. Examples, mucor, rhizopus, albugo. Next is about, you want to see the previous slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You can find them in aquatic habitats and leading a saprophytic life on decaying wood. Some of them are living as obligate parasites on plants. Mycelium is aseptate and cenocytic, one of the most important feature. Examples, mucor, rhizopus, and albugo. Albugo is a parasitic fungi found on mustard plants. Then it's reproduction. First, we will see asexual reproduction. Here, it is by means of zoospores or by aplanospores. The difference between zoospores and aplanospores is that zoospores are motile. They are capable of movement. They are having flagella, which will facilitate its movement, whereas aplanospores are non-motile. There are no locomotory structures for them, so they are not capable of movement. These are produced endogenously in sporangium, means these are produced within, inside the sporangium. In some cases, they can be produced outside. Sporangium is a fruiting body. It's a fruiting body. Sometimes they'll be produced within, sometimes they can be produced outside. Then you call it as exogenously produced. When it is produced within the sporangium, you call it as endogenous production of spores. This is what I said, children. So many spores, so many names you're going to learn. Zoospores and aplanospores. Zoospores, motile. Aplanospores, non-motile. And they are produced endogenously inside the sporangium. Whereas sexual reproduction is by means of zygospores. Children, see the similarity in the spores. Zoospores and zygospores. Very confusing. Zoospores are asexual spores. Zygote, you remember zygote. Zygote can be formed only by sexual reproduction. So zygospores are sexual spores. Without making some code like this, it is difficult to memorize. They are formed by the fusion of two gametes. And these gametes can be isogamous or anisogamous or oogamous. Isogamous means both the gametes will be similar. Male and female gametes will be similar in appearance. And isogamous means they will be dissimilar in appearance. And oogamous also, when it is an isogamous and oogamous, both are dissimilar. They are not similar in appearance. And oogamous, why it is specifically written is, in oogamous, the female gamete will be large in size and the male gamete will be smaller in size. That is oogamous. Whereas anisogamous means male and female gametes are dissimilar. They don't have any resemblance. Whereas in isogamous condition, we cannot make out between male and female gametes. Both will be similar in appearance. In Phycomycetes, we learned about asexual and sexual reproduction. Only you need to learn about these names. And zygo, I told you, zygote. Zygote is formed by sexual reproduction. So zygospore is an example for sexual spore. Whereas zoospore, it is zoospore is an example for asexual spore. Not only zoospores, aplanospores are also produced by them. And aplanospores are non-motile and asexual spores are produced in the sporangium endogenously. Within the sporangium, you can see the picture of the sporangium and the spores produced within. They are produced within and then they are released outside. Zygospores are formed by the fusion of two gametes. See here, fusion is taking place and producing zygospores, and this zygospore is germinating. From there, germination takes place and a new hyphae is being produced. Details you don't have to learn. You just need to know all these basic information. basic points or the key points only you need to know. Shall I stop sharing? Okay. So we can have a quick recap. 3 minutes we have. Yes. Who is going to say the points? Tom, which are the different classes of fungi?
Ascomycetes, Deuteromycetes,
Ah.
and what was that?
I don't know ABCD in that order. You can go, no problems. As you please.
Basidomycetes and Phycomycetes.
Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, Phycomycetes, and Deuteromycetes. And what are the 3 criteria for classifying? Devika, sorry, Malavika, Vipin. Yes. Tell me
Ma'am,
the 3 criteria.
they are classified.
Don't refer, recollect and say.
Okay, fruiting bodies, spore
Ah, yes.
formation,
Ah,
morphological,
morphology of that important mice.
mycelium.
Okay. And then what did we learn about Phycomycetes, Jyoti? Anjana, Tushar already told me some connection problem. Agna, Abhinav.
Ma'am, I have some connected issues.
Okay, Anjana. Samia, Agna, Abhinav. Okay. To whom I asked? Whom did I ask? Jyoti. Yes, Jyoti.
They are found in aquatic habitats, decayed wood, and damp areas, damp and moist areas.
And one more point. One more I said. One more mode of nutrition.
They are parasites,
What type of parasites?
obligate parasites,
Obligate parasites on which organisms? Plants. Plants. Okay, next point, Eva.
Yes, ma'am. The mycelium is sinusotic and aseptate.
Aseptate. Alina Varghese, next point. Yes. Which is the next point? You are missing your friend? Then tell me the next point fast.
Example.
After mycelium, what did we learn? Agna Stancy. Agna.
Examples: rhizophus,
Mucor.
and algae.
Parasitic fungus we learned. Which one was that? Starting with A. Albugo. Albugo. Okay. Then we learned about the methods of reproduction, sexual and asexual. What did we learn about asexual reproduction, Anishwara? Asexual reproduction.
It takes place by zoospores and by alpinospores.
Zoospore. What is the speciality? Or how do they differ?
Zoospores are motile. Alpinospores are non-motile.
Non-motile. And where are they produced?
Sporangium.
You have to refer, no? They are produced inside the sporangium. How are they produced? The position you say? In what manner they are produced?
They are produced endogenously.
Endogenously. Okay. Then about sexual reproduction. Aditya Dev. Alan. What about sexual reproduction? You're on a swing. Oh, they produce?
No, ma'am. Zygospores are formed by fission.
Zygospores? Zygospores and?
Are formed by fission of two gametes.
Not clear. Zygospores I heard. What else you said? Who will complete it? Yes.
And zygospores are formed by fission of two gametes.
One of you repeat it. Who will repeat? Malavika, Prabil.
Zygospores are formed by the fusion of two gametes.
Okay. So we'll wind up. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Monday. Monday, what is special?
Exam.
Malavika, what is special? Ah, okay. Remind me, okay? Don't take advantage
Yes,
of
ma'am.
my memory loss. Okay, thank you, children.
Thank
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.